Hi everyone, welcome to Business English Podcast. I'm Tom. Thanks so much for tuning in today. It really means a lot that you've chosen our show to boost your business English.
I'm Mary. We're so glad you're here. In this episode, we'll walk you through our approach, share helpful insights, and explain how this podcast will enhance your communication skills. We truly appreciate you making us part of your English learning journey.
All right, let me see. Today, we'll break down each segment for you. First, we'll introduce the topic and why it matters. Then we'll dive deeper with real-world examples. And finally, we'll offer practical tips and a quick English lesson to help you apply everything.
Basically, by the end of this episode, you'll have clear strategies to overcome common challenges, plus new vocabulary and expressions to boost your confidence. We hope this format helps you focus on both comprehension and speaking skills in a very practical way.
Exactly. We want you to feel encouraged, not overwhelmed, and we'll do our best to keep everything straightforward. After all, everyone's busy, and a structured approach can really help you fit English practice into your hectic schedule. So, shall we get started?
Yes, let's dive right in. We truly believe this podcast can give you the extra push you need. Thank you once more for choosing us to accompany you on your language journey. All right, let's introduce our topic and see how it can shape your business communication.
All right. Today's topic is something many learners face. I can understand business English, but can't speak. Actually, it's a common challenge. You see, people often get comfortable with reading and listening, yet freeze when it's time to express themselves verbally.
Exactly. Lots of intermediate learners say they can watch business presentations or read articles without trouble, but once they have to talk about a quarterly report, they just get stuck. It's frustrating, especially in fast-paced work environments.
Well, the modern workplace is all about global collaboration now. Video calls, cross-cultural projects, and international business trips are normal. Actually, big companies expect employees to handle negotiations and discussions in English. If you can't speak confidently, you might miss out on major opportunities.
That's so true. According to a recent study, a significant percentage of professionals say they can read emails in English easily, yet they hesitate to participate in group discussions. It's not just language, it's also about self-confidence and cultural nuances.
Exactly. So why does this happen? Basically, there's a gap between understanding and speaking, because active production of language requires more practice. You see, we might absorb vocabulary passively, but we don't actually develop the muscle memory for forming sentences on the fly.
Yes, and fear of mistakes can make it worse. By the way, if you worry about grammar or pronunciation, you might hesitate and lose your train of thought. In a real business meeting, that can be really awkward and hurt your credibility.
Let me see. There are real-world examples everywhere. Think of people working in multinational corporations. They often do great in behind-the-scenes tasks, like drafting reports or analyzing data. But once they have to present their findings in English, they freeze.
And that freezing leads to missed chances. I just recall a colleague who understood every client email but hardly spoke in meetings. This day. Eventually, someone else led the conversations. She had the knowledge, but her voice stayed silent, and the client never saw her full potential.
Exactly. So it's crucial to address this. In today's global economy, strong communication can propel you forward. It's not enough to only understand what's going on. You need to express your ideas convincingly. That's what sets you apart when it comes to career growth.
Well, if we look at best practices, many high-achieving professionals prioritize speaking drills, group discussions, and real-time feedback. They realize that comprehension alone isn't going to move the needle. They set aside time for active conversation, role plays, and networking events to truly sharpen their skills.
Basically, we're seeing a trend. Companies now offer in-house English training that focuses on spoken communication. They invite trainers to simulate real negotiations or sales pitches. These sessions let employees practice discussing KPIs or product roadmaps without the pressure of an actual client meeting.
Yes, and in some places, they even encourage employees to watch business news together and then summarize it aloud. People often find it embarrassing at first, but actually, that group environment fosters mutual support. It's a safe space to try speaking.
So the key point is that speaking involves both mindset and skill. First, you need the right words and phrases, sure, but you also need to feel okay about making mistakes. Mistakes are stepping stones, not signs of failure.
Exactly. So many people hold back because they think they must speak perfectly. Actually, aiming for perfection can slow you down. The real world values clarity and impact over perfect grammar. If you wait until your speech is flawless, you'll never start.
Let me see. Another angle is cultural differences. Some learners come from backgrounds where interrupting or jumping in seems rude, so they stay quiet. But in many Western settings, it's common to interject ideas. That cultural gap can make speaking up harder.
Yes, and we should recognize that. If you're in a meeting with colleagues from different countries, it helps to adapt. Maybe find polite ways to enter the conversation, like using, "if I may add," or "I'd like to share a thought," so you're not interrupting abruptly.
Real progress often involves small steps. Start with short updates in team meetings, or volunteer to give a brief project overview. Over time, you build confidence. Also, listening actively to others sets a great example. You realize everyone's focusing on content, not flawless grammar.
Exactly. And let's not forget technology. Online platforms offer live practice sessions with native speakers and interactive group lessons. Basically, we have so many tools now that can replicate real-life scenarios. You just need the determination to use them consistently.
So if you're worried about being judged, remember this: everyone's learning. You'd be surprised how many business professionals share the same fear. But those who push through, who speak up in front of clients or peers, see their skills skyrocket over time.
Well, let's also look at success stories. Some top executives started out shy, but forced themselves to engage in small talk at events. They practiced elevator pitches, joined international committees, and eventually led global teams. Their English might not be perfect, but their confidence is contagious.
Exactly. Confidence is key. It radiates trustworthiness and competence in business. If you show willingness to communicate, people often overlook minor errors. They're more interested in your ideas, your solutions, and your enthusiasm. So let's remember, speaking up is a powerful tool.
You see, this is why today's topic is so important. Being able to speak business English isn't just for show. It influences how others perceive your professionalism. If you stay silent, your expertise remains hidden. Voice your thoughts, and you'll stand out as someone proactive and dynamic.
All right, so that's a solid overview of why this is such a big deal. We've touched on the challenge, its importance in today's market, and some real-life examples. Next, we'll get into more specific strategies you can use. Let's make those ideas super practical.
Yes, exactly. We've set the stage, so let's delve deeper into methods that help you transform passive understanding into active speaking skills. We want you to leave this episode feeling motivated and ready to tackle your next business conversation with confidence.
All right, let's move forward and explore how you can speak up without fear. We'll cover practical tips next to overcome that gap between understanding and speaking, followed by a quick English lesson. Stay tuned. All right, let's shift into practical tips. Basically, these ideas will help you transition from simply understanding English to speaking it more confidently. We'll talk about small, doable steps that fit into busy schedules, plus ways to make your practice sessions engaging and effective.
One of the simplest tips is to think in English whenever possible. If you usually think in your native language first, then translate, it slows you down. Try labeling objects around your office in English, or mentally narrating your tasks. It builds fluency over time.
Yes, that mental switch helps you respond faster. Another tip is to record yourself. You see, many people hate hearing their own voice, but actually, it's super helpful. Record a short summary of your day, or practice a work-related dialogue, then listen back.
Exactly. That way, you notice if you're pausing too often or using filler words excessively. It might feel awkward at first, but it's a quick way to see your progress. You can do this daily, even for just 2 minutes, to build confidence.
Let me see. Another practical step is to schedule short, focused speaking sessions with a colleague or friend. Pick a topic, maybe a current project or a business trend, and talk for 5 minutes. After that, get feedback on clarity, vocabulary, and anything else you can improve.
Yes, and if you can't find a partner, there are apps and online communities where you can get speaking buddies. Basically, technology has made it easier than ever to find someone to practice with. You just need the commitment to show up regularly.
Another tip is to use structured dialogues. All right, it may sound old-fashioned, But practicing standard business scenarios, like making phone calls, handling complaints, or presenting quarterly results, builds automatic responses. You can adapt these scripts to fit real meetings or calls more comfortably.
Exactly. Repetition helps. Once you master a basic structure, you can insert new vocabulary or data. And remember, business conversations often follow a pattern. Greet, introduce the topic, provide details, ask for feedback, conclude. By practicing these steps, you'll speak with more ease and logic.
A vital tip is to set achievable goals. For example, aim to share your opinion once in a team meeting, or introduce yourself to a new client in English. If you set small targets, you'll see consistent improvement and avoid feeling overwhelmed.
By the way, reward yourself when you hit those goals. Maybe treat yourself to a nice coffee or even a short break. Exactly. Celebrating small wins keeps you motivated. It's like building any habit. Positive reinforcement goes a long way toward establishing consistent speaking practice.
Let me see. Another key strategy is to focus on vocabulary relevant to your industry. If you work in finance, learn terms like ROI, capital expenditure, or forecasting. That way, you won't stumble as much when discussing critical topics with colleagues or clients.
Yes, specialized vocabulary boosts your confidence. You just feel more prepared. Also, keep a personal dictionary of phrases that pop up frequently in your job. Reviewing them a few minutes each day cements them in your memory, so you can use them spontaneously.
Basically, you might also join professional networks or LinkedIn groups where people discuss trends in your field. Participate in comment threads in English. Even though it's written communication, it's more interactive than reading alone. Engaging in these conversations primes you to speak more comfortably too.
And let's not ignore online webinars or virtual conferences. Attend sessions in English, then ask a question live or in the chat. It's a fantastic way to practice business-related speaking, and you'll also expand your professional knowledge at the same time.
All right, another big tip. Get comfortable with silence. Basically, you don't have to fill every pause with words. Sometimes a short pause is better than saying repeatedly. It gives you a moment to gather your thoughts so you can speak clearly.
Exactly. And that technique is used by many successful speakers. They pause strategically, which actually commands attention. People listen more intently when you speak in well-structured bursts rather than rushing through. So try embracing those few seconds of silence instead of panicking.
You see, focusing on clarity over speed is another game changer. Some learners think speaking fast shows fluency, but actually, it can lead to mumbling or errors. Clear, deliberate speech is more persuasive and professional, especially in a business context where details matter.
Yes, clarity wins over speed every time. Another practical idea is to shadow business podcasts or news segments. Listen to a sentence, then repeat it aloud, matching rhythm and intonation. This helps you internalize the flow of natural speech, which supports spontaneous conversation.
So to sum up these tips, think in English, record yourself, set goals, practice industry-specific vocabulary, use technology for practice, embrace silence, focus on clarity, and consider shadowing exercises. Incorporate these steps consistently, and you'll see your speaking skills rise steadily.
Yes, that's a solid list. We hope it's useful and achievable. Basically, it's about steady progress, not overnight perfection. All right, next we'll head into our English lesson to highlight some key expressions and idioms that popped up in our discussion.
All right, let's jump into our English lesson. We'll highlight 5 expressions we mentioned: stepping stones, move the needle, overwhelmed, embrace, and skyrocket. We'll explain what they mean, how to use them, and provide quick examples you can apply in business contexts.
First up, stepping stones. It basically means interim stages that help you progress toward a bigger goal. For example, these small sales deals are stepping stones to larger contracts in the future. You can use it to emphasize how each action leads to something bigger.
Exactly. Next, move the needle. This phrase means to make a noticeable difference or impact, like implementing that new marketing strategy really moved the needle on our monthly revenue. People use it to highlight a significant change in performance or results.
Yes, it's common in board meetings or performance reviews. All right, our third term is overwhelmed, which refers to feeling so stressed or overloaded that you can't cope. For instance, he was overwhelmed by the number of client emails after the product launch.
Exactly, and we often hear it in busy workplaces. The fourth word is embrace. It means to accept or welcome something enthusiastically. For example, we need to embrace new technologies if we want to stay ahead of the competition. It implies a positive, proactive acceptance.
Yes, in business contexts, embracing change or innovation shows adaptability. Lastly, skyrocket means to increase very quickly. Like, our online sales skyrocketed after the new ad campaign. It conveys a sharp, rapid growth, which is useful for describing sudden business success or metrics.
Let me see. So to recap, stepping stones for incremental progress, move the needle for significant change, overwhelmed for excessive stress, embrace for adopting something eagerly, and skyrocket for rapid increase. These words really spice up your professional conversations and presentations.
Exactly. Now, to put them into practice, you might try creating sentences from your own work context. For instance, if you're in finance, say, "This quarter's profits skyrocketed," which really moved the needle on our overall revenue. It's more expressive than saying, "Profits grew."
Yes, also practice them in role plays or presentations. Try something like, "We embraced a new marketing strategy, and though we felt overwhelmed at first, those efforts became stepping stones for long-term success." Using these expressions helps you sound more natural and confident.
Absolutely. Basically, the aim is to sprinkle them in naturally, not force them. Over time, you'll remember each phrase more easily. All right, that concludes our English lesson. Next, let's wrap up with a summary of today's topic and final thoughts.
Before we conclude, remember to review these expressions regularly. Maybe jot them down on sticky notes, or set them as reminders on your phone. Consistent exposure cements new vocabulary and ensures you'll use it in the right context.
Exactly. Try weaving them into emails or quick conversations with colleagues too. It might feel odd at first, but once you see how naturally they fit business discussions, you'll gain confidence. Repetition and real-life usage are the best ways to make these words stick.
So give them a try and have fun experimenting. You might be surprised how quickly you adopt them in your daily interactions. All right. Now let's officially move on to our final segment, the closing, where we'll summarize everything we covered today. All right. We've discussed the challenge of understanding business English, but struggling to speak, explored its importance, and offered practical tips. We then looked at a brief English lesson to enhance your vocabulary. Let's wrap everything up with a quick summary.
Basically, we started by recognizing how common this problem is. Many can read and understand, yet panic when asked to speak. That's why we looked at the modern workplace trends, real-life examples, and the importance of bridging that gap for career growth.
Exactly. Then we dove into actionable methods, like thinking in English, recording yourself, and setting realistic goals. We emphasized practicing relevant vocabulary, joining communities, and embracing silence. These small steps build confidence and help you progress from understanding to actually speaking.
And in our English lesson, we introduced 5 key expressions: stepping stones, move the needle, overwhelmed, embrace, and skyrocket into it. Incorporating these into your speech can add color and clarity to your business discussions, plus show you're comfortable with important workplace vocabulary.
Let me see. Overall, the main takeaway is that speaking is a skill you develop through consistent practice and positive mindset. Don't fear mistakes. Use them as stepping stones. With each effort, you'll become more fluent, more confident, and more capable in global business settings.
Exactly, and we truly hope this episode has given you fresh motivation. If you take even one tip today and apply it, you're already making progress. It's a journey, and each step matters, whether you're rehearsing a presentation or just talking with a coworker.
So as we close, keep practicing, keep speaking, and don't hesitate to explore new methods. You see, business English isn't only about grammar. It's about communicating your ideas, leading projects, and building relationships. We're excited to see you grow in your language skills.
All right, that's all for today's Business English podcast. We hope you found real value in our conversation. If you did, consider leaving a review or sharing this episode. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to helping you on your English journey soon.